Welcome to Brave Healer Productions. It's time to experience what's possible. So, what if there's something you haven't learned yet that could change everything? Welcome. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions Publishing, where we are helping the world experience what's possible. And helping me with that mission today are some of the expert authors of one of our newest books. This one is called Stories, Tools, and Community for Healing Curious Humans. I think we got a lot of healing curious humans in the Zoom room today. I've got a huge shout out to our lead author, Natalie Peterson, for the massive and powerful mission she had to bring some of the most passionate and knowledgeable healers together to create this incredible community and this resource, you guys. Natalie, huge shout out goes out to you today. And I've got some pretty amazing people in my Zoom room. Let me introduce them to you. Leah Johnson is an artist, author, and transformational healing mentor. Having gone through her own massive transformation from politician to painter, she knows how the power of healing can set you free. Madison Rose is here with us. She's the CEO of Better Half to Whole, a platform dedicated to divorce recovery and the renegotiation of relational trauma in the nervous system. And Ruby Raja is here. She's a creator and founder of Inshira.com, where she shares her writing and provides free information and resources on domestic violence and trauma. Welcome to all of you amazing authors. Leah, we're going to start this party off with you today. Tell us a little bit of the why behind the chapter that you wrote for the book.
Yeah, so my chapter is number 16. It's not for their approval, creating self-love through creativity. And, you know, healing is a lifelong journey. It's something we constantly have to lean into over and over and over again. And I really feel that I leaned into this story. Because it's the healing work that I've been doing now, right? There's so much that I have healed and have moved through, and then there's new things that come up that we have to work through. And so, um, and I think as a teacher and a writer and an artist, sharing the experiences that I'm going through at the moment, make for more potent and powerful stories of transformation. And so, that's really what I leaned into. I've gone through a deep transformation myself in the last 18 months, having fully completed my time in politics and moved into the space that has been calling me for years as an artist and retreat leader and teacher. And so it's, I think that was really my why, is now this is the story, this is the path that I'm on now, and sharing the insights that I have had over the last year and a half felt like the right thing to do.
Well, congratulations on that huge transition. But you made me think of something. You know how like you go through something in your now year, your now moment, your now month, and you say something like, "Oh my gosh, I thought I dealt with that already," and it comes back again, and it surfaces again, and there you are again, right? Like, what do you want to say about that?
Uh, yes. No,
Right?
that's the thing. It's, we we are healing healers, right? So we are constantly in process. It's not something that's complete. I mean, being human is living those experiences. And so I think honoring all of that is what I try to do. And I really lean into the space of joy because for me, I lived in darkness for a really long time, and not like the fun starry night darkness, but like like wasn't sure I was going to make it out kind of darkness. And so to have pulled myself out of that space and to find myself in a place where I can radiate something different, is really powerful. And that's where I think we just keep returning to that. And sometimes it's like really big, huge transformations, and sometimes it's just little bitty micro transformations. But all of those are what adds up to us creating, the space and the life and the energy that we want. And for me, that is constantly leaning into the power of healing. So.
Leah, thank you for saying yes to this project, for being here today to share. You guys are going to start to hear so many golden nuggets. And I always say of awareness. Like I'm already listening to Leah. I'm like, yeah, we all get whiplash too, because we're all like nodding our head to everything everyone says. But this has to be one of my favorite topics ever, literally, y'all, because just melding healing and curiosity, right? Curiosity is a superpower that we have of awareness. So listen, because you're going to hear these golden nuggets throughout the interview. Madison, I'm going to come over to you next. Tell me a little bit of the why behind your chapter.
Thank you so much, Laura. My name is Madison, and I'm the author of Chapter 11, Thank You, Divorce, Expectant Gratitude After Heartbreak. And similar to what Leah said, I had several years that were very dark, and the expectant gratitude practice came out of needing to have a buoy and needing to have something to really grasp onto when I felt like this is terrible. Like my life was really unbearable a lot of times. And so the gratitude practice that then turned into the expectant gratitude practice that I call abundance flows really did impact my daily life and also my perspective and how I viewed the world. So that I was looking also for things that were really positive and being able to recognize the gifts and the support and the things that were really loving and supportive to me, even when I didn't ask for them. And so working in the divorce space, there's a lot of focus on trauma and what has been done to you, what you have experienced. And my brand is really focused more on the hope and the healing and looking to the future with expecting good things to happen instead of only dreading and grieving what is lost. So the why behind expectant gratitude is that it is a simple daily practice, but for me has had really profound impacts on how I see and experience my life.
This topic is intense. I think there have been 2 years in my lifespan that I called the worst of my life, and my divorce year was one of them. And so when I was reading your title earlier and I was like, expectant gratitude, I was kind of thinking about my process of that year and thinking about that worst year of my life and how gratitude was huge if you can get there, first of all. And then second, thinking about putting that word expectant on it, like that's other level. Like I want to hear you talk about that a little bit more. Like, how did you even get to that versus basic gratitude?
I had a pretty dedicated basic gratitude practice for like 3 years where I was practicing gratitude every day and had to start really small with things like my car started today. I have a job. Like things that were really accessible to me. It's like, okay, yeah, I can be grateful for that. I had shampoo. Great. And would even repeat some of those day to day. It wasn't 10 new things every day. It was 10 things, period. And sometimes I did copy and paste from the day before. But then when I got to a place where I felt like, okay, I'm like pretty practiced at this gratitude thing, I then started to notice what was extra and not what was so basic. And so the things like a front row parking spot when you're running behind, 2 for 1 berries, like things that just felt like a little bit more, special, like taking something that was so basic and trying to give myself a bonus, basically. Like, what else can I pay attention to that feels like even more abundant and overflow? And that takes time to get there because it is really challenging sometimes to even think of what could I be grateful for if you're struggling. So the expectant piece is next level. And I think people will be surprised when you start paying attention to the things that are extra special or unexpected, that you'll see them more.
Yeah, I love that. My go-to was always, I would take a huge deep breath and I would just be like, whoa, thank you. I can take that huge deep breath. Like I'm able to take a deep breath. Right. But I love so much that this is law of attraction. Also, you guys, like you start to expect it and you take that to the next level and you notice those special ones like, okay, that's a topic I could talk about for the next 3 hours. Madison, thank you also for saying yes to the project, for bringing your brilliance to it. Thanks for being here. So Ruby, you are up next. We want to hear the why behind your chapter.
Thank you, Laura. So my name's Ruby and I wrote chapter 7. It's called Memories, Unknown, Lost or Forgotten, How Our Wombs Experience Domestic Violence and Trauma. My why is a little bit more dynamic. It started with working in probation many, many years ago and accepting and realizing that I didn't think these guys were offenders or bad people. I couldn't see any reason as to why they'd committed some of the crimes they had. They couldn't see those reasons, but because we get all of their histories, when I looked back, they had not been listened to at all. Nobody was there to soothe them as children. Nobody was there to listen to anything. And as I backtracked, I realized it went all the way into when they were pregnant, they were in their mum's wombs. I thought I was a bit crazy at the time. And as that journey started to unfold, I thought, actually, I'm not crazy. Their problems are starting much earlier, and no one has a clue because nobody thinks their problems start at a time when they didn't even exist. Fast forward to meeting Natalie, who's a godsend. She encouraged me to relax into the process of writing. And I realized I had my own womb trauma, although it may not be DV related. So I was able to see these things in these guys and ended up writing that chapter because I think it needs to be spoken about. Yeah.
Is this the idea of hurt people? And, like, how do you feel when you hear that?
I don't think it's hurt people. I think if you can't find your source, where something's springing from, you just keep going pillar to post. You do one thing, you do the next things, because you can never identify where it's coming from. And if you don't have a go-to, so for me, that go-to now is actually, this might have started a long time before you were actually even in the world. People can have a frame of reference. So as I started speaking about domestic violence and trauma in the womb, so many people have come out and said, Ruby, I had this story, I had this story. And one of the cases that I had was a 13-year-old who was using violence to her parents and grandparents. When I did her, there was actually a lot more than that, but the one that spiked my interest was that her trauma was able to be identified to her mother and telling me she was pregnant and she was with a domestic violence offender. But this little girl will never ever know why she becomes angry and violent. So that was my trigger point, that parents don't talk about it. Children are never going to go to that space. So yeah, I don't think hurt people necessarily.
Yeah, this is wow, talk about other level things to think about, you guys. So we don't mess around around here, right? These are big potatoes topics. These are topics you're going to want to chew on for a minute. So, there's also energy and all of the different things you absorb when you're in the womb, right? And your chapter is a really, really powerful way to enhance our awareness on this topic. So if I don't, if I have really don't have an idea of why I'm feeling or behaving a certain way, it can go back even further than you think. I think that's the,
Yes.
yeah. What else did you want to say about that?
Don't undersell yourself. So something's happening and you're having feelings about it, find a place to speak. Because often people will have something and they'll go, no, if I speak about that, everybody's going to think I'm crazy. Find the place to speak you're crazy, because you'll find blockages in the way that are stopping you moving on. I certainly, when I think about a 13-year-old girl, because I had a group of them, all of their mothers had experienced domestic violence while they were pregnant. And none of them would have connected that anything's happening to the baby, because everybody says, no, 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 the baby's in my tummy. They don't realize that everything that they're experiencing, their child is sucking up, and they're coming up with all these, I'm going to call them deficits, but nobody knows how to deal with them. And then they start getting labeled. So I would say to anybody who doesn't know why they do things that are classified as wrong, give yourself that space and enter the areas that you're afraid of entering, because I think they're the ones that set you free. When I speak to some of those guys, they've never considered that. One or two of them said, Ruby, I didn't have a clue about this. And I thought, neither did I. But you have to go sometimes to places that you don't have a clue about. And they're frightening and they're dark.
And they can change everything.
Yeah.
Ruby, thank you also for being in this project, for being here to share today. You guys, I've got really a huge thank you for all three of you. And I want to show everyone a little bit of a peek of the book cover here while I give you some more gratitude. You know, you took the challenge I gave you to put that vulnerable story in the book. So thank you for that. But then you all are stepping up in the second part of the chapters with your master teachings. And you guys, this book is full of these practical kinds of guided tools that any one of them could be a life changer. So thank you all for doing that so well. It's, you all share with your clients and you teach every day, but it's another thing to put it in a book in black and white in a way that a reader can have that experience. So I want to talk a little bit about this idea of the curiosity. Madison, I'm going to start with you. When it comes to healing, why is the curiosity part important? Like, how did it help you?
The curiosity part when it comes to healing, I think leads us to being more open to the full scope of our experience. And if we're curious, I think some of the answers might surprise us. So being curious in the healing space feels like the open door to me of like, I wonder what, or I wonder if. And I do see that quite a bit, especially in my work as a somatic practitioner, that people feel often like, well, this is just my life, and kind of resigned to living with whatever has happened to them or happened for them, or, all of those things. So the curiosity piece, I think, is very hopeful in that there could be another way. You could heal, maybe, if you're open to it. And just being open to the possibility that there is another way. There is another way for you to exist. There's another way for you to connect with people. So the curiosity to me feels like an invitation into living a different way, or being able to exist in a different way within your body.
I love the way that you're kicking this question off today. Thank you for that. I was thinking of a couple things that also might help Ruby and Leah when they get to this answering this question, but you made me think of, like, if you come in closed, if you come in, you use the word resigned, If you come in a skeptic, right, there's this there's this varying levels of not open, and you just made me think of all of them. Okay, Ruby, how would you answer this? When it comes to healing, how has curiosity helped you on your journey? What do you want to add?
I think that the answer Madison gave was absolutely beautiful. And I would say that's it. The curiosity in the space that I'm looking at, I think, is critical to let go of all the burdening that you're carrying, because it's a space that there is research out there, but very little. So if you start opening that door that, well, I don't understand this, I don't understand that. Could it have happened when I was in my mum's womb? It just opens up a whole set of miracles to unfold. Some of them scary, but most of them I think will be a lot more uplifting and allow people to settle in and say, okay, I'm not crazy. This is happening and there's a reason for it. And as they get that reason, I think it also starts to answer other questions in life that you don't have a clear answer for. So it's a critical part of that journey, and it takes you to places you would never have gone before. You open up myself when I think about the men I worked with, and I thought, it's happening much further down the line. It's this space. And I started going round and round and thinking, Ruby, there's something wrong about you. But then as I settled into it, I thought, no, there's too many directions, too many arrows going there. So if I can have that curiosity and arrive somewhere like I have, the people that are experiencing it are going to have far more uplifting experiences, I believe. So curiosity is critical to that healing journey.
Yes, I love the word critical. I believe so too. It's critical, and also just the possibilities open to you
Yeah.
when you open your mind to, you might think it's a little weird, it may feel a little scary, and you just don't know. It's okay not to know, right? And just
Yes.
but keep yourself from closing down around
Yes.
the possibilities. Yeah. Um Super, super powerful topic. Leah, how do you want to add to this? And it's hard to go last on this one, I think.
No, I think the power of curiosity is the power of transformation, right? Because we come into things and if we're not curious, it doesn't allow that movement or that change. But when we allow ourselves to be curious, it rewrites so much. And I know on my own personal journey, I've had my story that's defined me for a very long time. And as I leaned into that story with more curiosity, it allowed me to redefine it in a way that opened healing with my mother and myself. And it allowed for forgiveness, that if I would have just continued with the absolute of what I believed to be true, I never would have been able to inform an entirely different space. And so leaning into that curiosity is what allows for the transformation. And, for me, from a creative standpoint, I lean into that curiosity of, what are your own rules? Not what you've been told, not what we're supposed to do, not what's outlined for us, but what's inside of you that's bursting to come out and create something different. And my tool is about creating a self-love journal, with paints and markers and all of those things. But creativity isn't just about putting paint or writing or any of that. It's truly, we are the creators of our own lives. And when we lean into that power of curiosity, we can create something so much more beautiful than if we arrived with just the absolutes.
Yes. I often like to say yes with an exclamation point. I love listening to you talk about these topics, you guys, all of you. I've got one more question for all of you, and Ruby, I'm coming to you with this first. What's the most important thing you want people to know about how the womb can experience the domestic violence or trauma?
I would like people to know that they can heal from it. That's the most important part, that regardless of what's happening in the womb, we can reverse engineer. We can change those experiences by learning how to shift that energy and to shift the way we do things. So, with the womb experiencing all the negative things that are going on in an abusive relationship or whatever types of neglect and things that are happening, and the child soaking all of that up, doesn't ruin their life if we take the time to learn and change the trajectory. And it doesn't involve labeling that child. So, the most important thing is we can still heal even after all the trauma, the devastation, and all the negative experiences of that womb and the lacking of safety mechanisms and the cycles that should come naturally. There's healing and there's a potential of living a full, happy life after that. That's what I'd want people to take away.
I thought of a kind of a side question for you. I think it's just my curiosity coming up. If after a child is born and they're old enough to display a behavior that could be a clue, do you think it would be anger, or what do you think it might be that I would be looking for?
That's an extremely difficult question to answer. That's one of those, how long is a piece of string? Because it depends on the circumstances, the social, economic situation that they were going through. I think there are a lot of things that when you're watching a child grow, so I'm sorry it's so vague. If you're watching things happening in your baby, your child, they're not paying attention, they appear to be the daydreamer or the one that's always arguing, you need to start questioning that because you can rein it in. And at school, what happens is you get labeled, you become the daydreamer or the child that's always arguing without realizing all that person needs is space. You can literally take them to a park, a forest, a walk, stop talking to them, let them know that you're a safe person. So I think trying to identify the signs is a lot more difficult than to say, let's slow their life down and bring them back in and let them know how important they are. So I'm sorry I couldn't answer that clearly.
I think that was a beautiful answer. And I think it's maybe we wouldn't think about that being one of the things we can do. So thank you for that. I know I sometimes I ask the questions that really can't be answered, but you all are sharing things too that people will be hearing for the first time. And that is the nugget. So you're shifting perspectives in the way that you answer the questions. So I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so Leah, I'm going to come over to you with yours, and I want to know what that most important thing you want us to know about creating self-love through creativity is.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, it's, we all have the power. And I think so often we are told that our worth comes from the outside. I had a 25-year career in politics before I became an author, an artist, and all of the things. And I lived for that external validation. I lived for someone to tell me my worth, for someone to tell me what my potential was. And I sought it to the point of, spiraling to the depths of darkness to prove that success, to prove something. And as I shedded all those layers and let all that go, what I realized is my worth is in me. And I don't need any external validation to tell me what my worth is. And that process for me came through literally taking the energy of all of those emotions and all of that feeling and turning it into something palpable that you could touch and feel. And for me, that was creativity. And sometimes it was collage, and sometimes it was poetry, and sometimes it was drawings and doodles, and sometimes it was, anything that I could create to process that trauma and process what I was told I was supposed to be and release that and allow my self-discovery of who I am at my core. without somebody's else's approval or worth being projected on me. And so, I guess the most important thing to take away is that no one else gets to define your worth but you. And through, so many tools you can use that. But for me, it's been through the power of creativity that I've been able to establish and really flourish in what my worth is. And I hope that others can find that too.
I think it would be interesting if we had a whole set of politicians who did that work first. Right? Like, why can't we flip this and have it be that that's the foundation that everyone has to go through before they get to those positions in the world? I don't know.
We can all dream big, right, Laura?
Right? Yeah, we
Come in,
can.
let's do it.
All right. That sounds good. Okay, Madison, you're up. What's the most important thing you want us to know about that heartbreak after divorce?
Yeah, I think the heartbreak after divorce will take time to dissipate. It will take time to heal. And then specific to the gratitude piece and the expectant gratitude piece, I think it can be overwhelming and also tempting to think about like the final destination of transformation or of healing. And that can feel really daunting. And so I would encourage people to start with today, start with what's in front of you, start really small. And I don't know if you remember the like merry-go-rounds on old playgrounds. And it's this concept of building momentum in your gratitude practice or in your expectant gratitude practice and healing. Even at the very beginning, it's like you're putting in so much effort and things feel like they're going really slow. And before you know it, you're like struggling to stay on the merry-go-round because things are going really, really fast. And so I would encourage people to just start really small and maybe pick one thing that was good today. And it doesn't mean you dismiss or don't acknowledge the other things that were really challenging or really hard. We're not totally diverting our attention from challenge or struggle, but that there has to be a counterbalance. At least there had to be something else for me to get through, because otherwise it was going to take me out. So starting really small and just noticing is really powerful. Just bringing awareness to things that might not be so bad.
Yeah, I love that. And it's a nice way to wrap up today on gratitude, right? Madison, Leah, Ruby, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone. This is way more than a book. It is a generous community waiting for you all to reach out. So drop down into our show notes and you're going to find ways to connect with all of our authors so that you can ask the questions and get support and carry on these important conversations that we started today. We also hope that you hop over to Amazon and grab your copy of this amazing book. The link is down below for you for that as well. And lastly, today, everyone, remember your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.
Thank you.